Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Inside the Wrapper with me, Stogie Chaz. Hey, we've got Hector Alfonso Sr. from Espinosa Cigars, their master blender. This is going to be a great interview, an in depth interview. I think you'll really enjoy it. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hey everyone, welcome back to again another episode of Inside the Wrapper. Today we're taking a deep dive with Hector Alfonso from Espinosa Cigars, their master blender. Hector, welcome to the show.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. It
How
really
excited?
is.
Do you want me to try that again? You want me to go a little tone it down a little bit, or
No, no, you're great. You're great.
no?
Just be
I'm
you.
glad. I'm glad to be here, Chaz. Glad to. I'm glad you asked. And as I've said, with the exception of maybe one or two guys, there's nothing I like more than going online and talking about the brand and the blends and promoting the company and the good Espinosa word, as you know.
Absolutely. And I've had a couple of experiences with you one on one, and and it's a great time. It
You know
really
that
is.
never ends that way. People never end that. They never say it that way. You know, I've
Oh,
had a couple. They used to say I've had a couple experiences with them. Then there's a period, and then they'll go on to the next topic. So, oh shit, I'm
no,
sorry.
listen, I've enjoyed the times we've spent together. I
I'm a
mean,
I'm a delight. I don't I'm a delight. I don't understand why all this Mr. Warm stuff. I'm a delight. I'm wonderful. I don't understand.
I've never had an issue. You've always been good to me. The thing
I
is,
know.
like you and Eric, you guys are just straight up. It is what it is. You tell it like it is, and you either like it or you don't. If not, TS.
I think this already we're already 3 months into this year, so it's too late to pick up that mantle. But 2024, it's no more Mr. Warmth. It's Mr. Wonderful starting
There.
next year.
Oh, nice. I
That's what
like
we're
that.
gonna do.
All right,
We're gonna put that together next year.
that
No, but
works.
seriously, that you had us on. I'm glad you had me on. I saw that you're getting back into the podcasting,
Yes,
and you did your reviews. And listen, there's nothing wrong with the guy who's into cigars, who likes cigars, and has something to share with the other cigar smoking public. So welcome aboard.
absolutely. And you guys, you could have
For
dominated
everyone
the
that
top
comes
five.
on, for everyone that comes off, I should be able to pick somebody in that collective cigar media and say, hey, you're out. Like purge them. Like put your light out, like when we're on the island, whatever that game is, whatever that TV show is.
You've been voted off the island.
You've been asked to leave the island. Is what I'm going to call
Exactly. Get
it.
your ass and leave.
There was no voting. Yes, I know that we did very well with you, and that was great. And I'm hoping that you get all your ducks in a row this year,
Uh
so we
huh.
can use they can use your numbers for the they can use your number for the end of the year summary, which would be fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every January, actually, it's going to come out in January next year. I think I did it the first week of February, but it'll be done by January. But you guys, I mean, you really knocked out of the box. A 10-year for me, which was my number one, and I do it based on what I smoke. I don't do
Right.
it based on reading all this other everyone else's stuff. It's what I've actually smoked, and you know the
Listen, I thought that the 10th anniversary, both the Lazona one and the Espinosa one, were were sadly not because they weren't good cigars, because they were great cigars, but they were just overshadowed by
yeah,
how hard and heavy the knuckle sandwich came in, and how hard and
absolutely,
heavy the six provinces was. And it's just it's a numbers game. It really is.
it
Listen,
is.
all you have to look is all you have to remember with our companies. If you think back to the year after the year after New Orleans, we contemplated not doing Warhead again. I mean,
Hmm.
and Warhead is an every year cigar. Every
Right,
year, people love it, but it got caught up in the jet stream that was Laranja Reserve,
right,
and and I don't want to say it falls by the wayside, but it's just you have to really do a deep dive into the brand, when you're reviewing and things like that, because we had five cigars that we brought out. That's a
yeah.
lot for a company of any size, more or less a company of our size.
Oh my
And
God, yes.
I thought the Espinosa 10 was just it was just a great cigar. It was a cigar Eric liked, and it was blended for him. It was a cigar
Hmm.
that had I think it was the most Cuban-esque of any of the cigars we'd ever made.
Right.
And it was just a really good cigar. I've heard guys tell me, bro, I love that 10. It's just we were just so wrapped up with knuckle sandwich and this knuckle sandwich, and then the chef special, and then the 55, and next thing it's a year's gone by and the 10th forgotten about.
Yeah.
But I have some squirreled away, so it's not going anywhere. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not going anywhere.
I've got some squirreled away as well.
Hmm.
It's one I want to make sure I have around. But yeah, I mean the knuckle sandwich, the Habano Maduro, for me they're equally as good. Um, I don't really have a preference for one or the other. I like them both exactly the
I
same.
think, well, they're both different cigars. I mean, and I hope I'm not taking you off track
No,
on
no, you're
on
doing
the
fine.
stuff you want to talk about. I mean, I told the people who came by the booth, who were my friends in the media, and trying to explain the difference between both cigars. The Lazona 10, uh, the Lazona 10 is a more rustic cigar. It's a little fuller cigar. It's a
Hmm.
little, I don't want to say linear because we don't do anything like that, but I think it's a cigar that's just very reminiscent of Lazona when we first started Lazona, and it was kind of an ode to where we were when we first started,
Right.
when we had to scrap to get tobacco, scrap to get wrapper. It was us against the world. Not just us, but us and several other small companies, always against the world, and in trying to put out a cigar. And and I used some of that dark Laranja wrapper. I had some lying left around, and I wanted it to be that kind of. Even the box was reminiscent to the old crates that when we
Hmm.
first started Espinosa,
Uh,
we first started at Lazona. But the Espinosa 10, I wanted that to be where we are now.
right.
The different tobacco, more finesse, more nuance. Using a larger variety of tobacco, making a cigar that we can make it in Ocotal, where we have the pick of anything AJ has
Right.
available. So I mean, it just shows you this is where we started. Still not bad, and
No.
this is where we are. Still not bad, not bad.
Uh,
I feel like Ed Koch. How am I doing? How am I doing? We're doing okay. We're doing okay. Pretty good. We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
Listen, you guys are doing great. You really are. And it's a shame I got to drive past the office every single day on my way into mine.
Well,
I just want to make that left hand turn so badly. I really do.
listen. I've been driving there the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh God, this traffic is so bad.
It's
I mean,
terrible.
I used to get to work way like 10, 15 minutes before 9 o'clock. Now it's if I can get there before 9:30, I'm happy.
Same
I
here.
think that construction in Hialeah Gardens will be right around the time I officially
Oh
retire
my God.
for
Yeah,
good.
it's it's
It
it's
looks like
insane.
it's a 3 or 4 year project.
I know. I know.
It's just it's awful,
And I'm
and
on the side where they're building the Murphy and the Wawa.
yeah, because we need another Wawa.
Yeah.
We have a Wawa up by the Home Depot. We have a Wawa there. We have a Wawa up the road on 103. We have a Wawa on where my mother lives off of 18th Avenue or 16th Avenue. We have like 4 Wawas within 3 miles. I get it. People
And,
like
and
it.
and we've got 3 stations in a tenth of a mile.
It's the only thing I don't want them to build, because I don't want to hear Jack have to talk shit about it, is a Bucky's. As long as I never see a Bucky's here, I'll be
Exactly.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a gas station.
I
It's
know.
just a gas
And
station.
folks, for you guys that don't know, the Espinosa offices are in Hialeah Gardens, Florida, and
Hey,
my
hey, hey,
office
hey,
is in
hey!
Medley, which is right across the highway.
Don't tell people where our offices are. You know that I don't like people going there, right? You understand that, right? Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, all right.
You're not invited unless you've been told to come over.
You're not invited unless you're invited, which has never
Exactly.
stopped anybody from just showing up. Hey, how you doing? And who are you? Oh,
You remember you saw me 15 years ago.
remember I bought 2 cigars in North Dakota. What the? I saw you at the Smoking Teepee event in Iowa. No,
Uh,
you didn't. All right, but yeah, the traffic is just awful. It's just
it,
awful.
it is. It is. Now, off the conversation we just had about the Espinosa tenure and the Lazona tenure, about the blending. That's perfect for my first question. Can you walk us through the process of blending a cigar and selecting the tobacco and, the aging and finishing,
Well, where we are
the
now, I mean,
genesis of
listen,
the idea?
where I'm at now. I mean, after 10 years that we've been, our company's in its 11th year now. It's a little different than when we first started. When we first started, I'd take these trips to Nicaragua with not necessarily anything in mind to make. I'd just go there and mess around with something. Oh, this came out pretty good. We should do this, or this came out pretty bad. Let's never touch this again. Now, ever since COVID, I've only been to Nicaragua once in the last 3 years. I've done a lot of my a lot of my blending via phone calls. I
Hmm.
know exactly what tobacco I'm looking for. I know what taste I'm going to, what profile I'm going for, what we want to do. So, I said, listen, for instance, I used the 10th anniversary. I wanted a cigar that, and of course it had to be Habano, because if it's not Habano, it's not an Espinosa.
Right.
So I said, well, let's make a Habano that even I like. So I want to make something a little cleaner. I want to make it at AJ's. I want it to have pedal de oro, which we've never used before. So let me see. I want to work with this. I want to try this. So I write my girl in Nicaragua. Said, listen, I'm looking to do this 10th anniversary blend. Make me blend A, blend B, and blend C.
Okay.
And and she'll, I told her what I want. She'll call me and said, well, listen, I have this, but I have it from AJ's, or I have it from, and she'll talk to me and tell me what she has, where she's got it from.
Right.
But mostly, I don't like to go all AJ or all of anybody else. I want there to be some variety in that. So
Hmm.
uh the and to not to reveal the blend, because that's not what, like the colonel, like he says, the colonel doesn't really want to reveal it's his herbs and spices.
Right.
I wanted tobacco to around that, and it was my first time using Pelo de Oro, and I didn't have anybody really that I could talk to about that uses Pelo de Oro, that I know in that way, that I could talk
Hmm.
to them at that level. So it was kind of experimental, but I used tobaccos that I thought would work out. And let me tell you, out of the three blends that I got, two of them were one of them was spectacular, one of them was very good, and the other one not so much. So now
Okay.
I know that in my now I know in my bag for next time, if I'm using Piloto, try to stay away from these tobaccos when blending that cigar. And
Gotcha.
then for sure, the most important part with everything was to make sure that I could find the lightest wrapper for him, something that he could enjoy. It's not it's a rosado, but it's more of an opaque rosado. It's not the kind of rosado we use at Lazona. Definitely not the kind that he likes. It's that very, very light
Hmm.
Habano. But you got to go at what you got. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So that's what the process was. A guy comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to make a cigar." I go through the whole thing. I listen. Listen, it's a tough spot. I mean, sometimes you have to. It's not easy. You'll get a guy who wants to make a cigar with you, and he starts talking to you about things that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Right.
He starts talking to you about primings and particular farms, and the ones. And have you ever been to Nicaragua? No, no, I haven't. Okay,
Yeah.
you're sitting there, you're scratching your head, and listen, I don't take on any airs. I've always considered myself the Rachel Ray of cigar blending. I can make a good sandwich. I can make a pretty good sandwich. Kitchen's not super fancy, but no,
Hmm.
everybody leaves satisfied. So I got to go through this sometimes with them, and then I started resorting to one of my favorite questions that I ask pretty much right away now. What have you been smoking? This cigar that you want to make, what have you been smoking that's similar to the cigar, or that you found that you like, that brought you to this idea? Because
Right.
it's so much easier for me to go find that cigar, smoke that cigar, and say, okay, I think I can make this. I might need this. I might need that. Than
Right.
to sit there and go through this never this interrogation that at times just is a vicious circle, just going around in a circle.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, because it's kind of like the same guy says, I like strong cigars. I only smoke Cubans. You sit there, listen, a lot of guys want to get in this industry. A lot of guys are in this industry already, and they really, you know, they listen. They should talk. They should listen instead of talk, and
Yeah.
just and maybe take the advice of guys who know what the hell they're doing, or have had some success doing this. Sadly, when it's not always the case,
Right.
but when it comes to that, that's usually what I'm doing. Hey, these guys want us to make a cigar. Do you know what they want? They want something medium. Oh, really? Something medium? Well, okay. Did they say that did they mention any kind of wrapper, any kind of this, any kind of that? So it's kind of a small interrogation you have to go through,
Hmm.
and then you have to be able to make sure that you can make it consistently. And the exception of the war zone that we did a couple of years ago, where we had never used Cameron before. Everything that we have made, we're able to acquire that tobacco to make that cigar again, or to make variations on it. So that's the process for me, Chaz. It's not super sexy. I want
Doesn't
to tell
have
you
to be.
that,
It works.
and like most people, I have all mine in a database. So I have because
Mm-hmm.
they got, hey, what's in Laranja? Are you kidding? You really think I know what's in that right off the top of my head? We've made over 100 different blends. It's some I know off the top of my head, some I don't, and luckily I'm as good at with excess as I am with with excess as I am with this. So I have everything accessible, everything is readily
Yeah.
available, but that's what it's become. That's what it's become.
Yeah. Let me tell you, the Warzone in the Rubito size is absolutely killer.
I preferred the short Churchill, but that's kind of my size for almost everything. I
Mm-hmm.
really like the short Churchill. I like a cigar that I don't want to smoke a cigar that that I'm gonna be that I'm looking. Oh, I gotta start worried about the big, because now with all these big bands and all this shit, I want a cigar that I can smoke an hour before I have to start worrying about peeling this off and then peeling the next layer off and then peeling the next layer off and
I got you.
undressing the cigar without talking
Right.
sexy to it.
There you go. So, how do you balance flavors and strengths in the different tobaccos?
Well, I mean, for me, balancing flavor and strength is a matter of tobacco percentage. How much of this am I putting in? How much of that am I not putting in? Say that say that you've created, say we have a blend. We're very lucky. We have a blend, the 601 blend.
Mm-hmm.
The 601 blend is it's very versatile. It's a very versatile blend. Uh, that blend, we have put it under a Habano, and it became 601 red. We put it under a squirrel wrapper, a darker Habano, it became green. Uh, did very well. We put it in. We used it for with the broadleaf. It became one of the cigars of the year that it was released.
Right.
But that was one of those cigars that it was just one of those blends was just perfect. So, say that I've say that I make a blend like, for instance, the crema blend.
Mm-hmm.
Crema is a Connecticut. I don't smoke a lot of Connecticut's. I know the guys who do smoke Connecticut. Uh, One moment, please. Sorry, Chad. Hold on.
Don't worry about it.
Hmm. So when I worked on crema, the the logical the lazy way was, well, you already have this cigar called Espinosa Habano. It's doing pretty well. Why don't you just throw a Connecticut wrapper on there and see how it goes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we tried that. That did not go. I mean,
Right.
that was, that did not go. So I needed to take a trip over there. I looked at the Habano blend and I said, well, I smoked it myself over there, which is what you have to do. You have to smoke it there first. And then, pray to God
Totally
when
different.
pray to God when it gets here, it's still good. But I
Right.
said, well, this is not right. It's not balanced enough. This has got too much pepper. This has just got no depth of flavor. So, I sit there with Carlito, who runs the factory, and I said, listen, let's do 2/3 of a leaf here. Let's do more over here. And we're not going to change our binder because our binder's our signature flavor. We
Right.
always use the same binder. Uh, and the Habano that we have is the Habano that we have. The Connecticut that we have is the Connecticut that we have. So it's not like, well, let's go to this lighter shade. This is what we have. This is what we're using.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I knew I had parameters from what I was working with, and it was just a matter of adjustment. I want this, I want that, and
Right.
then I made the first Connecticut. I said, I like this. Then I tinkered back the other way. Oh, I like this one too. I tinkered the other way. I ended up making that trip. I ended up making 5 Connecticut's, and 4 of those Connecticut's were used in projects.
Right.
One became Ariel, and that was a blend that used a Burley binder, which was what Cornelius and Anthony had at the
Right.
time, and he had Connecticut. He had a Connecticut from Connecticut. He had Connecticut shade wrap.
Mm.
He didn't have Ecuadorian Connecticut, so it was a different taste, a different feel, a different tweak. Then one of them became Claro, which was a
Roy
short-lived cigar
Ruiz.
that we did
Right.
for Roy Ruiz, and the fourth one, which I think by volume, because of volume, it didn't do better than Crema, but I think got as many accolades, or probably more accolades, as Themis.
Yeah.
Themis got an incredible amount of accolades for a small
Yeah.
mini boutique like Protocol is. And the fifth one, I think the fifth one became Diet Sarsaparilla later on. So it's
Really?
yeah, the fifth one I
Ah,
eventually
okay.
down the road I said, no, we haven't used this. It's good. It's
It
different,
is good.
and it's a different cigar. Look, I'm smoking one now, as a matter of fact. So
Yeah.
that's we were very lucky. I listen. Uh, I'm very pragmatic on these things. You know, I don't have a lot of time when I go down there. I mean, I'm there for a week, but you take away well, I'm there for 6 days. So you take away the one day you travel in, the
Right.
one day you travel out. So now you're there for 4 days, and you know you got to go see people, and you got to go, you know, you got to handle other things, and you know at night you got to go have dinner and see whoever's in
Mm-hmm.
town, whether it's James Brown is there, or Skip's in town, or Willie's in. Where you know you have to try to have
Right.
to negotiate these things, or maybe AJ wants you to stay and watch 4 hours of sports. You know, you've got to manage these things. You know, so
Right.
that's how it's been for me. Listen, I'm when it comes to this, Eric will tell you, and he'll tell you, not me, but he'll tell you, uh, I'm very efficient on these trips. You know,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I go, I do my shit, you know, and then you know, at
Get it
7 in the
done.
morning, I'm at the factory again at 7:30 in the morning. Boom, 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 knocking, and then when
Right.
I get here, I'm dead. I'm exhausted, but you know, but I'm very efficient when I go to these on these trips.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't realize yet, when you smoke a cigar in Nicaragua compared to smoking it here, it's a different experience. It is truly a different experience. I thought it was a bunch of BS when I first heard it. And then, once we brought the cigars back, I don't know what happens during the trip.
Well, Eric tells a story that the name that term was was coined by Jonathan Drew. I don't
Okay.
know John. I don't know Jonathan Drew like that, but Eric does. He's known him for 20 years, and he calls it the Honduran effect, which is funny since I've only been to Honduras once, and but he calls it the Honduran effect, and it's happened. I mean, we smoked. We had one of the when I used to take trips with Eric in the very beginning. I don't usually take a trip with anybody because I just listen. I'm gonna go. I don't like to be bothered. I like
Right.
to do my shit, and then I like to go back to the hotel. And I don't, you know, I'm not that social. I mean, outside of the guys who I know and I really admire,
Right.
and I like hanging out with them. I don't go to the bar. I don't go to the club. I just,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I go back to the hotel. I'll find something to eat. I'll come back, and then I'll watch Seinfeld in Spanish, which is hilarious, or you know, or The Big Bang Theory in Spanish,
Right.
and then you know, then that's my next day. Uh, so at first, when I went with him, we worked, you know, and Eric's much more, not only is he much more social, a lot of people, when they find out he's in the country, his tone blows up. Hey, bro, come over here and play dominoes.
Yeah.
Hey, come see me. Hey, and, you know, they invited him to casino. I don't know, you know, I did. I went at first a lot of time, but then by the end, the easiest way to not say no and not get roped in is to not be there at the same time as he is, you know.
True.
That kind of,
Yeah.
that kind of worked out for me in the long run. So, you know, God, where was I with this? Oh, so what was it? I lost track. I'm sorry. What was the original question?
We were just talking about
Oh, about the
balancing
Honduran effect.
flavors. Oh,
We're
the
talking about
Honduran
the
effect.
Honduran, right?
Yes.
So I remember we worked on something, you know, and it was really good. And Eric's like, I really like the cigar. I said, yeah, I really like the cigar too. It's different. It's got, you know, it's got nice flavor. You know, it's only a couple days old, but still, I like this cigar. So we took a couple. I had a couple in my pocket, and he had a couple, and we smoked one on the way to the airport. Great. Got to the airport, checked in, got to the lounge with the ugly gray, with that ugly green couch in there, with the smoke eater. It's incredibly
Yeah.
loud, and we smoked it in there. Still good, fantastic. 2.5 hour flight to Miami, land, go through customs, blah blah blah. Get out, walk out into the hot and humid Miami underpinnings there at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I said, God, you know, put the cigar in my mouth, lit it. Man, this is awful. What the fuck happened to the cigar?
Yeah.
Did somebody snatch the cigar out of my pocket and put like put, you know, I was gonna say another brand, but put, you know, put it. What happened here? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, well, you know what? It's probably me. I just flew my mouth, the pressure, the humidity, the ambient temperature. I'm coming back from Nicaragua, so maybe I've got, you know, I've got something worse than COVID. Whatever. I'm thinking all these bad things, and
Right.
then a day later, or 2 days later, I'll be at home and I'll reach for it. And I'll go, yeah, this is still bad. What happened to this is not what I have. And if you ever come into my office, listen, you get and I really am when it comes to I really consider myself, like I said, I don't take on airs, and and to prove that, I have about 100 cigars in my office from the first 20 or 30, 40 blends that I made. I still
Right.
have some left that are just dog awful, just god awful. And these are cigars are 10 years old, you know? It's still bad. I mean, even Tim Wong wouldn't smoke this, and he'll
Oh
smoke
God.
anything. I mean, these are just what is that? What are these cigars you have here? Those are just to keep me, keep me grounded, man. Whenever all these guys are blowing hot air up their kilt, I reach over and I grab blend number 7. We're on blend 300 now.
Uh-huh.
I'll grab blend number 7 and go, ooh, what the hell was I thinking?
Oh God.
This is. But I didn't know any better. I was learning. I was learning. I was learning.
You
But
know, I
I thought that was a good idea to mix this and that and the other. No, 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 no,
yeah.
no, 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 not good, not good at all.
Uh, I think it was Bob and myself. Bob from the Wrecking Crew. You know Bob.
Bob
And
McDonald.
Bob McDonald. And we were in your office, and you wrote on the board about a blend. You were writing numbers on the board about a blend. How many cigars you can make out of one blend?
Sure.
And you were putting numbers. Could you walk us through that just a little bit?
All right. So I think it has something to do with somebody who wanted somebody. Was it during Lizona Palooza? You think that you were there? Was it during a Lizona Palooza?
No, it was one of it was the Bob and Chaz trip. So it was
Okay.
probably
So
sometime during the summer.
I
So
know that
before Palooza.
somebody recently, I think I may have had that already written on the wall or something, or I may have started that before. Well, somebody had come in there and said, "Listen, I just want a real simple blend. I want a, I want Viso Esteli, Ligero Jalapa, and Seco Esteli, and I just want to see what that tastes like." So I wrote on, and I kind of wrote on the wall. I said, "Well, how much of this do you want? How much of that do you want? What's the percentages? Because now if this is 35% or 50%
Hmm.
and this is 10%, now that's a blend. If I switch these two around, that's a blend. If I
Right.
switch these three around, that's a blend. If I change the binder and go back to the original, that's a blend, that's a blend, that's a blend.
Hmm.
Three different wrappers, that's a blend, and you start to, they don't realize that within the blend, moving the percentage of one filler up, one filler down,
Right.
percentage up or down changes the dynamic of the cigar.
Hmm.
And then when you start adding, there and we're a traditional 3 leaf factory. We do three leaves on our filler. That's how we've always been. There are some that use 4, some use 5. I mean, there are some factories, some of the smaller bundle places do 2,
Hmm.
but we do 3. So it's A, B, and C. If A is if you, in the perfect world, 33% A, B, and C. But I
Right.
want 50 of A and 25 of B and 25. All right. And now we want actually 10% of B and 30. You start moving this stuff around, and it's the variations matter. The
Right.
variations matter. So it's not as simple as the guy was telling you. So what from one from one blend we could probably go from one set of filler, and we can have 3 or 4, and then
Hmm.
now you're adding another binder. So if you had 4, now you had 4 different. You change the binder twice, now you have 8, and you
It's
change the
crazy.
wrapper 3 times, you have 24. I
Yeah.
mean, it's insane. And then even more insane is keeping track of it, because you have to keep track of these things. Because when you go to Nicaragua, when you talk to Nicaragua, when you're talking to them about writing down the blend or having them make a cigar for you, you just can't say 1, 1, and 1. That's just not how it goes.
Right.
You've got to be more specific.
And how many cigars are blended at Lazona as opposed to AJ's?
Hmm.
What cigars are we pumping out of Lazona?
We do La Habano, the Crema, the Especial,
Okay.
the Alibi, the Wasabi, uh, the Sarsaparilla. We do, let's see, what the Laranja Reserva comes out of there. And then out of AJ's, we do the 601. Oh, we do the stuff that we do for the online company. So
Okay.
601 Steel, 601 Kryptonite,
Right.
any private labels I'm doing out of there. Then from AJ's, it's all the 601s, the Laranja, the Azulejo, the Oscuro, the Murcielago, and the limited stuff, the Warhead. Oh, the La Bamba's out of the Zona factory too. Then the Warhead and the Knuckle Sandwich stuff is coming out of Brazil, out of Okata, out of AJ's place.
Oh, hold on. No, it's called Flavor Town.
I'm sorry, Flavor Town.
Knuckles.
So you're looking, we're almost, I want to say we're like 45, 55.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
we're almost even this and that. What's coming out of there and what's coming out of the other place.
Yeah. Now the Zona Factory, and if you've never been, it's a phenomenal place to be. It's a great place to spend an afternoon. Just sitting up on that balcony. That's one. I've been able to go twice in the past, I think, 6 years, and I just wish I could spend more time on that balcony and just people watch and
That balcony is great until about 2 o'clock,
really.
and then at 2 o'clock, its face is west. So at two
Uh,
o'clock, the sun starts to set. And while there are mountains in the distance, but from 2 to 4, it's Death Valley days there. I mean,
okay.
and especially in the hottest times of the year, you're like, this is monkey shit. But from 7 in the morning until after lunch, fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're lucky, you'll catch a funeral. You'll catch a funeral or an accident or a bus, running somebody over. It's always, there's always something to see there.
Tons of entertainment, fun for the whole
Fun,
family.
fun for the whole family.
And how do you evaluate the quality of your tobacco or quality of tobacco and the factors that go into your blends?
Well, listen, when we talk about the cigars made at AJ, who am I, really, to doubt the level of his tobacco? He has some of the best tobacco in the world.
True.
If you've spent any time with him at all, if you've ever seen him at his factory, the man walks. He doesn't. People say that he doesn't like to travel the United States. Not that he doesn't like to travel the United States. Who the hell wouldn't want to come to the United States? Uh, he has a problem leaving his factory behind
Yeah.
because that's his bread and butter. He's very proud of them. He's very proud of his fields. He's very proud of his factory. The quality of the tobacco that he buys is top notch. The quality of tobacco that he grows and he ferments and he processes, and that's all. It's all top quality stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been, and what we do at Lazone after so many years, we have not had an issue. We have always bought tobacco from the same guys, and we have never had, I think the biggest trouble we ever had at Lazona was the time that we were out of wrapper. We were out of Laranja wrapper. We didn't have any of the Brazilian Anaranjado,
Right.
and that was hard because we found some in the wild, but it wasn't the same. It was too dark. We had to use that for other projects. It didn't it just wasn't right. And then we were lucky enough at the beginning of last year that I found 6,000 pounds of it, and we made as much Laranja as we possibly could. I mean, we're loaded to bear with Laranja, but we're in search mode again. Now we're looking
Yeah.
again
Hmm.
to find more Laranja. So
Yeah, I
that's
remember
that's
that
that's
because
that's the case.
when
Listen,
when the
somebody
boxes started coming in, I was actually in the where I was lucky enough to come visit that day, and I bought a box right off the floor. I said, I got to have this right now.
listen. We don't have a pre-industria. We don't have a place to store. And that's not something Eric wants to do. Eric,
Right.
that's not part of our model, to get into, and while it probably should be, because as you can see how the economy of things are, and all the scares during the COVID era and after COVID, yeah, maybe that should have been something that we should have gotten involved in, but we also have to look at the fact that because we are who we are, we'll always have accessibility to tobacco. I know that's a pretty
Hmm.
vain thing to say, but there's a reason that you're in the industry 20 years and you make friends and never do anybody wrong, to
Yeah.
be able to facilitate things that you need in the future. And I think that's a plus for us as a company. It's a plus for him as a person. I'm always in shock. Not no, I'm always in awe, kind of some of the stuff that we can pull, we can do.
Hmm.
As I like to call them, some of our ninth inning miracles. But they've worked out. They really have worked out.
Yeah, and you speak to other people in the industry, and anytime we talk about you guys and Eric and everybody just has, I mean, great things to say. You
When
know.
we first started, it was Eric who, let's see, we've been 11 years. Eric had already been in the industry 10 years.
Hmm.
When we first started Arizona, we first started Espinosa Cigars, and then it was myself, who had never worked. I mean, I worked at a store for a couple of years, and his son, who had worked in a store for a couple of years. That was the core of Espinosa Cigars.
Right.
Then we brought on a graphic artist who worked for Rocky for several years, and Anthony was very talented. And I was sad to see Anthony go. Actually, I was hurt to see Anthony go, because you lose something. And when you have somebody who's been with you since day one, you
Yeah.
have something called institutional memory. And having institutional memory is important when you're sitting around kicking ideas of things to do. And you can say, we did that, or we tried that, we can't do that. Somebody has that already because we've been down these roads.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then, we went through a couple of national sales managers. We went through some Florida reps. And in this team that we have now is going on its third year of being together.
Yeah.
Jack came in 3 years ago. Jack is as big a personality
Right.
and as popular as Eric at a different in a different sector, where
Correct.
Jack's never been a brand owner, but his family was a brand owner, a brand owner of 100 years, an old Cuban brand. Jack brought something that we didn't have to the company. He brought presence, and I like to call it lounge presence.
Mm-hmm.
Something that Eric has. Eric walks into a lounge and he takes over the lounge.
Right.
Jack walks into a lounge with his big personality. He takes over a lounge, not using the same shtick that Eric used. Jack has his own shtick. You have then Richie came along, uh, and Richie's a guy who worked in the industry. And I don't want to say he knocked around the industry because he was in several places for several years. But every once in a while, you kind of make that good free. I don't know. I think it relates to sports to me,
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a guy that he has incredible potential, and he's just been in the wrong situation, on the
Correct.
wrong team, or things went sideways,
Mm-hmm.
or just the shit changed, and he was a great free agent acquisition for us. Good free agent signing. Guy who works really hard, he
Yeah.
tries really hard, and he's since day one he's wanted to be part of the team, and and we've accepted him, and he's accepted us, and he's a part of the team, and then we have Junior, who listen, who is the only person I've ever known who was asked to leave college to
Yeah.
come work in the family business. And I think he really found his niche when it comes to the creativity side of it. Latino doesn't want to. He doesn't he doesn't like to talk to big groups. He's really as much of a fucking prankster as he is, and the fruit does not fall far from the tree.
Right.
He is a little quieter,
Yeah.
and he's very set. And there's a word in Spanish that I don't know how to translate in English, because serviceable is not the word. Serviceable is actually kind of derogatory, but he's very servicial.
Mm-hmm.
He's all about the brand. He's all about helping promote the brand name, which is his surname as well.
Right.
So, and then then you have me, who listen. Uh, I am uh, I don't even think that I could begin to label the amount of loyalty that I have to this company. This is a company that uh, I left. I retired early from the police department. I could have stayed and and saved myself and banked a couple $100,000
Mm-hmm.
uh, and retirement. While being retired on duty, but I couldn't wait to get there
Yeah.
and get to work and do things. And I've been lucky enough that I've been uh not gifted, but I've been given some additional responsibilities now they let me out of the cage. I get I travel 4 or 5 times a year. I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably going to travel 6 or 7 times a year to go to shops where my shtick works, where
Right.
that Mr. Warm thing, and talk about cigars and blends and stuff that really works. So we're a small company still. I mean, we're when you think of small, large, maybe we're teetering on medium. I
You're
don't
a
know if
big, small company.
yeah, but I think you would be hard pressed to find a company of our size that has the kind of frontal attack force
Oh, yeah.
that we have. I mean, we have a 3 or 4. At any time. As a matter of fact, there was a couple of times last year that all of us were on the road at the same time.
Right.
Think about that. I was in the West. Jack was in the North. I think Jack was in the Northeast. Junior was doing something in Florida. Richie was traveling, and Eric was in Texas, or he was
Mm-hmm.
in. No, let me see. If it's usually how it goes, Eric was in the Northeast, and Jack was in Texas. But we had people all over
Yeah.
the country. I mean, and that's a company that's like we're not one of the big guys, but we'll press with anybody. We you would be hard pressed to find a company that has that kind of reach,
Right.
and and we're happy to do it. And it's this team that we put together in the last 3 years has been together, has worked. I want to say it's worked flawlessly, but
Hmm.
nothing works flawlessly. We have our glitches, and when it's not, something that maybe we have overlooked, it's something that's out of our hands. It's a tobacco issue or an ancillary issue like a box or a band or, but we there's not a problem that we can't tackle. I mean,
Right.
listen, you've been to Lazona Palooza, you know what kind of logistical nightmare that's done.
Yeah.
And when you guys come to it and go, my God, this is such a great, this was run so smoothly. Yeah, yeah, it was easy. I mean,
Yeah, you guys are all burnt out by the end,
yeah, I mean, listen,
and
these guys
deservedly
were
so. I mean,
guys making phone calls to the last minute because this guy pulled out, or or
yeah,
Eric wanted to change the food, or because those everything that we do, he knows that it reflects on us, and he does. This is a guy who doesn't like to be embarrassed. It's a guy who always wants to
right.
put his good foot forward, and we've all done that. And listen, I'm very proud of the team that we have and the direction that we're going in.
Yeah,
And maybe there are times that we've grown really fast and we're moving really fast, but that's because we're small, we can pivot. So
right.
when we've had to pivot, we've pivoted. But listen,
And
we have a good team, and all of us are different personalities. All of
oh
us
yeah,
have all of us have our strengths. All of us have our weaknesses.
you play each
But
other, play off of each other so well.
all fingers on a fist, and it's that fist can come down on people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
If we need to take care of business, we take care of business. Whether it's in this state, that state, events, any kind of thing. The Espinosa team really answers the bell. And I'll tell you, that's one of the funniest things. Getting back to what we were talking about, when we were nobody, when it was just Eric and a bunch of young guys, a bunch of green guys learning this industry. When you tell somebody you work, actually, it's very rarely do I have to tell anybody I work for Espinosa.
hmm
Everybody knows I work for Espinosa. Everybody knows Jack works for Espinosa. Everybody knows Richie now works for Espinosa. Obviously, Eric Espinosa is Eric Espinosa. Eric Jr. is Eric Jr. But we don't have to. Business cards are a thing of the past for us. Everybody knows who the hell
this
we
is
are.
true. Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows who the hell we are, and it's and that's good. And talking about all the different levels of all the different prongs in our attack and different levels. This is mine. This is where I've always done very well. Going on podcasts and talking about you know putting the word out and the message. If we don't have a communications director, but if we did, I guess that would be my gig. This is the message. This is what we're putting out. This is what we're doing,
Exactly.
and I enjoy this aspect of it incredibly.
And just going back to Lazona Palooza, folks, I've been fortunate to go to all except the first one.
I've been trying to miss one. I haven't been lucky enough to miss one yet.
And it's an invite only. It's for people who smoke Espinosa cigars, and it's 3 days, and it's probably the three greatest days you may ever have at any cigar manufacturer's facility, especially the
Fantastic.
last day. It really
It's
is.
fantastic.
The
It's
last day, the
fantastic.
last day in the garden is just wonderful. I think we just had 1 year, other than COVID, that it rained and we stayed inside, and that went off
And
without a hitch.
and don't forget, we did a COVID version of Lazona
Yeah,
Palooza. We did a
yeah,
we did a Lazona Palooza, a virtual one online. My
yeah.
Espinosa flag is waving too hard, too strong here at
I,
the
I,
Hogan
I
end.
was there virtually. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
I'm not happy about that, but go ahead. Uh,
I, that's all right. You want me to keep
yeah,
that out?
yeah. Just no, no, it's fine. I got no. You don't have to edit shit, man.
Okay. All right. I always
I've
ask.
said,
I always
I've
ask.
said, I've said much worse to much better people. So,
There you
so,
go.
so go ahead. We're good.
So I got a couple of things left that I do want to go over with you, and I like these to finish things off. What are some of the key factors that contribute to a great cigar smoking experience for you?
For me, listen, there's two moments that I. Well, first of all, let's start by doing this. I took a job where I smoke cigars for a living, so there's a lot of envy there. All right,
Oh,
there's a lot of envy.
I'm
One of the
already
first
green.
one of the first things that really shocked me about the cigar industry, when you buy your own cigars, when you have to go to shops and buy your own cigars, and I'd say to myself, why is that guy smoking that cigar down to the nub? Well, because he paid for it.
Yeah.
That's probably why. That's why he's smoking. Whether it's a quorum or a
Yeah.
$5, a $5, a bundled cigar. Guys,
I paid 12 bucks. I'm going to get
I
every
pay,
part of this
we're
cigar.
gonna get every part of
Yeah.
it, and that was probably the first thing that was hard for me. That I'd smoke a cigar, and I saw Eric. Eric has this really great tendency of gets a cigar, chews it, and
Right.
puts it down, and forgets about it, and then he grabs another cigar. We could probably be up 2% if we could just recover all the cigars that Eric's chewed and laid down. I actually
True.
had an idea once of following him around and grabbing all the cigars that he's bitten, and then selling that pack. And I could probably get a couple $100 for charity. Easy,
Absolutely, you could just
easy
have
on
him
those.
sign it and sell it.
But so I have my office that it's right next. It's the hand of the king. My office is right next to his, and
Hmm.
and if he's got any problems, he just comes right in, or I can slide right over. And I do like smoking in my office, but ever since Jack came into the picture, Jack likes to spend a little time in my office, and me and
Hmm.
Jack are friends outside of here. I go to his house to watch football games, and we're friends. So that little smoking alone thing in the office that kind of went away.
Hmm.
So I think my two favorite moments are like I'm sitting out here in my cheeky hut, which you know how important a cheeky hut is, and a tiki hut is in a cheeky hut is in Florida.
Yes.
And I've got it kind of man caved, it's got the TV and the license plates and some of the swag up, and I really enjoy sitting out here and listening to a little music or watching the Mets, which start playing in exactly 24 days. There'll be first 20 days, there'll be first pitch, and I
Right.
come out here at night and I'll smoke a cigar. Now, second to that, I have a lounge that I go to that it's got some of the greatest guys in the world to go there.
Agreed.
Not a single prick goes to that shop. The owner's the biggest pain in the ass is the owner, but but he's an acquired taste,
uh,
and we've become really good friends. And he's a huge supporter of Espinosa,
yeah.
and a good friend of mine. And I like going there and having a cigar on the nights the gang is there,
Yeah.
because it's guys who are just guys like you. Nobody, there's not that one guy. There's not, some of those lounges have that alpha smoker who wants to
Right.
tell everybody what to smoke, or the one upper who, well, he's, oh, you've been to Africa? Oh, I've been twice. That guy who, we don't have that. We have a nice community of guys who
Yeah.
go there. You want to know what kind of guys these are? When the last hurricane came through a couple of years ago, I had no power. I had
Hmm.
no power. We would go to the shop during the day to
Right.
cool off because they had power and air conditioning, and we were dying on the vine here. And then one night, one of the guys shows up here with a generator. I didn't ask him for it.
Right.
Boom, and and when the cheeky had damaged the electricity here, guy came out and laid it out for. I mean, that's the kind of guy they are. And when they need help, I provide whenever I can provide.
Right.
My son goes to that shop. It's not the first shop that I went to. It's not the I have friends that would have other shops. I'm very good friends with the guys from South Carolina, but that's a shop that closes at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and
Right.
Alan's open until midnight.
Hmm.
And it's a little easier, and it's on my way home.
And again,
So
it all comes back to just the love of the leaf
and
is what
going,
brings all
I like
people together.
I like going to the show as much as I hate the show itself, because it's so many hours and so many, it's a lot of people run through the booth,
Right.
especially now. Our booth has never been busier than it has been the last couple of years.
Oh, sure.
But if you get to the show early enough and you get some time with some of the manufacturers that, especially the ones that are on the manufacturing side, not necessarily a brand owner, but the
Right.
guys who actually work at tobacco, and you just get to listen to them talk. And I am a listener.
Yeah.
There are guys who know more than me, and I like to learn from them. And listen, I just had a fanboy moment the other day, and I'll give you my fanboy story.
Yeah.
Uh, we're at the Big Smoke in Vegas, and
Hmm.
I had never met Ernesto Perez Carrillo. I knew who he was. Eric's friends with him, but I had seen him in passing high and by. So Jack took me over and said, "Listen, I want to introduce you to this is Hector Alfonso, the guy who does this." He goes, "I know who you are," and I was like, "All right." I had a little bit of a moment.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Listen, here's my phone number for when I'm in Miami. I'm like, so now I'm like, I'm on the verge of getting I'm gonna get hit with
You're getting
what
digits.
I'm getting digits. I can feel the restraining order coming. I can just feel that. Gives me his phone number, and we'll get when I get back to Miami, we'll hook up. Okay, great, it's fantastic. Thank you so much. Months go by. I just see him at Saturday at the Cigar Aficionado Big Smoke in Broward. I'm standing with Jack, and he walks by and he goes, Hector, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you remember my name? I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I haven't forgotten about you. I'm coming back to Miami in 3 weeks. I go. So I look over at Jack, like Jack's like, how much wood do you have right now? I go,
uh,
I have hella wood right now. Even I still have my moments. Even I still,
sure, of course.
this guy's royalty, man. This guy's royalty. How do you not feel that way? You know what I'm saying?
And
Then
that's
there's
how.
then
Go
there's
ahead. I'm
some
sorry.
guys you meet. Then there's some guys you meet that you wouldn't pee on them to put them on fire. If they were on fire, you wouldn't pee to put them out. But
Yeah.
those guys are few and far between in our industry. There are some, but few and far
Yeah.
between.
They are few and far, but
But I do have my guys. There are guys that I see them at the show, and I just want to sit down and have a cigar with them, and because I just think they are what I like about the industry. That's my perspective,
right.
not necessarily Eric's or Jack's or Richie's or yours for that matter. But those are the guys I like.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm retired, but there's something that I cannot get away from. I love gathering information. Information for me is power. I love knowing shit. I love knowing shit, and I like to vet. I do. I don't want to say it's me being a. I'm not a gossip. I don't think it's a gossip aspect. I just like knowing stuff
You like
because
acquiring data.
I like acquiring data. It's what I did it's what I did my entire career. You grab that, you get data, you sort it, you vet it, you get rid of the
Hmm.
shit that's no good, you hold on to it until something else comes down the line. You go, well, wait a minute, I can compare it to data I have already. And then you become, and Jack as well, you become guys that know things. Where that's where that
Right.
whole shirt thing comes from. I smoke cigars and I know things. Yeah,
Exactly.
I've been doing that for years. So anyway, those are my favorite experiences.
Now you guys had your annual sales meeting. What was it? About a month ago or so
In January.
in January, and Guy was there. Guy
we
Fieri.
wa- we took the staff. They were here for 3 days. And listen, it was as much as I thought I would not like that. I really enjoyed having those guys here because uh, I've always been part of great teams.
Hmm.
I listen. I was in the U.S. Army. Fantastic team to be a part of. I worked for the Miami-Dade Police Department, one of the best police departments in the country, and now I work for Espinosa Cigars, one of the great up and coming brands. I don't know how much longer we're going to be up and coming at 11 years, but a great boutique brand.
Yes.
I like being part of the team, and I think the sales team is obviously it's even though it's not in my purview, I understand how important the sales team is and how
Right.
important it is to make them feel that they're not just the soldiers on the front lines out there, pushing the cigar while we're back there making it and coming up with new things. So to have them here was great. I mean, they came, uh, and in typical Eric fashion, Eric, in my 11 years with him, he doesn't. There's some things that you will never skimp on. He doesn't when it comes to feeding guys and
No.
showing guys a good time. He never skimps on that.
True.
Takes them to eat. We take them downtown. We eat at a great restaurant. Then we come back and we hang out for hours. Uh, then we went to the next night we had a poker fest. We played poker and they hung out and there's a word for it. A lot of the churches do it where it's like fellowship. I think they just have a lot. They had
Yes.
fellowship, and you got to meet some of these guys that you talk. You only see them at the show,
Right.
and you get to see them in Miami in January where it's nice and it's warm, and they're happy about that. And then as a little treat, we took them to Guy's house in Lake Worth,
Hmm.
which we should have come by boat. The only thing that would have made it better was to show up by boat at his on his water house on the
right.
water,
Right.
and he was as always he was super welcoming and Guy he just him and Eric are like two little peas in the pods,
Yeah.
very remembering guys' names and telling stories and laughing and pumping up the crowd and getting guys excited to sell his cigar, the cigar that we make for him. So it was a good thing that I think the guys all had fun. They got a chance to rub elbows with a guy that is he's got otherworldly problems in this than the ones we have, but it's a
True.
guy
True.
it's a guy it's a guy that uh I hate to say I think Guy is a guy, but Guy's a guy who likes this industry, who I think you'd be hard pressed to find another star or celebrity who has had a cigar come out that has been as successful and has had as much support from its main benefactor as we have.
Right. He has
So
used his brand, his clout. He has totally invested into it, and it's paid off. It shows. The numbers show. The numbers don't lie.
listen, it is what it's and this is a guy who he doesn't he wants to take over the world. Everything he does, he wants to take over the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's the tequila or the restaurants, he world domination's on his mind. And there's nothing wrong with being partnered with somebody who wants to continue to grow this brand. And for us it's great because listen, we're 11 years in, and we've made we've I don't want to say there's mistakes we may have erred at times, and when we should have done this and when we should have done that and when we should have released this and maybe done a limited. Now we have a chance with this brand to do it with the experience that we have from the Espinosa stuff and all the other brands that we did, to roll this out
Right.
where we don't miss a beat ever. And as my son says, we have to take advantage of the hotness,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't know he could use hotness in that word in that text, but he does.
And I've gotten to meet your son. Very nice gentleman
Oh, thank
as
you.
well.
I'm very proud of him.
You should be.
He is at his young age, he is much more of a man than I'll ever will have been at his young age. So I'm
What a
very
great
proud of
thing
him.
for a dad to say. I'm telling you, that's
Listen,
wonderful.
people say they want their best for their children, and I'm very blessed. My daughters are wonderful. They're 22 years old and they still ask permission to do things. Shh, tell nobody.
That,
Tell
wow.
nobody. And my son who said, "Well, all right, Pop, you did this. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take it to the next level." And listen, how can you not be proud of him?
Yeah,
He's a man's man, and I'm very proud of him.
that's phenomenal. Well, we do have some new cigar smokers that do watch the podcast. So, you have any advice for someone who's just getting into cigar smoking and what to look for in a good cigar?
Uh, well, I have a couple of things. I can I started smoking cigars at probably around 17. I worked my brother, rest in peace. My brother's godfather was was just a big mulatto. I don't even know how to say mulatto. Just a big dark skinned Cuban guy that was kind of like my father's big brother. It kind of his like
Mm-hmm.
mentorish big brother in Cuba. And when they came to the States, he became the godfather, my brother's godfather. He's probably he was probably 6, 7 years older than my dad. So he was just that guy. I mean, big. He was a carpenter. He was, he was smoking cigars all the time. And one summer, I got my mother felt the need not to send me to summer school. Thank God, because she thought summer school was making me smarter, not realizing that I hated her. Every year she sent me to summer school was the year that I hated her. And I worked with him. I worked with him during the summer, and he would, it was the routine. He'd pick me up, and he'd go to the cafeteria behind the house, and he'd put like $1 down, and he'd get like four 25-cent cigars, and these presidentes, these big ass, these mixed fill Don Goyo cigars, and he would
Uh-huh.
smoke them, and then he said, "You want a cigar?" One, I said, "Yeah, let me have one." I got a little green, but I don't inhale, and I didn't inhale, and I thought, yeah, I could deal with this. I mean, it was shit tobacco. I mean, but it was 1982. It's
Yeah.
a long
Yeah.
time ago. So I joined the army, and I see myself going to the PX, and I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to do something, like I wasn't never, listen, I was a young private and a young man, but I've never really been a party guy. I mean, I've done my share of things that maybe I shouldn't have, and I don't want to talk about. And the statutes of limitations are more than over.
There you go.
However, I got into smoking again, but you don't smoke that much because what they have at the PX is Garcia and Vega,
Mm-hmm.
and some of these things, blunts and Phillies blunts, things like that. So when I come back from the service, uh, one of the first things I get in the mail is a Thompson cigar catalog. So I joined the Thompson Cigar
Right.
of the Month Club.
Right.
So I got like 40 cigars a month, and I went through them, and I said, yeah, this is okay, but yeah. And then, as luck would have it, I joined the police department, and I worked for a man named Joe Delancey, rest in peace. as well, and Joe was the consummate hookup guy. We would go to Egredo, which was Ernie's factory in Miami, and he would sell us Egredo seconds, which were in the Wavell size, for like $17 a bundle of 25.
Okay.
And, and then when we got tired of smoking those, we'd go to, you know, Puros Indios, and depending on whether the old man had fired everybody in the shop that day, we'd get some Puros Indios and smoke those, and then the boom came,
Hmm.
and and cigars have always been kind of in my career in the department. When people who remember me, I've only been 2 years that I'm gone now, but they'll, oh yeah, it was cigar guy. It was always me and cigars and cigars, and cigars were always a part of my life. And what I've learned is that you can it's just hard because a guy could tell you, oh, you should smoke this. It's a fantastic cigar, and it might be,
Hmm.
but that person's palate might not be ready for that cigar,
Right.
and that experience might completely turn him off on cigars. And
Hmm.
I'd also tell you, find yourself a good tobacconist. But sadly, where we live, there are no such things as good tobacconists. You have guys who sell cigars. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, there's a couple, but you have mostly guys who sell cigars, and then you have the occasional shop where they have a very attractive young lady who sells cigars, but really is not a cigar person. When you
Correct.
ask her, I'd like a good cigar, she walks you over to the big five. Well, shit, of course, everybody knows those. But I think your key is to go in there, and if you can talk to somebody behind the counter and say, "Listen, I am just starting. I would like you to start me off with a variety. Give me 5 cigars. Take me from that." And they don't, and let's not even get into the whole wrapper bullshit.
Right.
I want to start with Habano, because
Hmm.
that's even that's where I think you should start. Start at Habano. Say, I want a mild Habano. I want a medium Habano. I want a medium plus. I want a medium full. I want a full, and then I want a heavy duty cigar.
Right.
Go there, and then it takes a couple of trips. Then you come back and say, listen, I like this one. I don't ever want to see this one again.
Uh-huh.
And then hopefully from there you can go to the internet and start looking at reviews of that cigar that you like, and see what comparable notes. There are times I said, this smokes like this or this smokes like that. Since when I worked in retail, and the guy said, listen, I'm just starting out, I smoked a lot of this. I'd say, okay, you're smoking that, try this, try
Hmm.
this. And then I wasn't even working for Eric at the time, and I'd always put like a 601 red in there. Oh, you got to try one of these, you know uh, and then kind of go with that flow. But I think don't just go for that one cigar. It might
Right.
not be the right cigar, and then it might completely turn you off from cigars. And we don't want that. We
No,
want you to
definitely not.
no, we want you to embrace the culture, and find your spot. I think cigars learning finding your niche with cigars is a lot harder than finding your niche with whiskey. Or
Yeah.
because whiskey is that much, I didn't like it, let's go to the next one. This much, I didn't. It's not a whole hour and a half experience. It's these
Right.
little shots until you find it. And then you know, I don't think enough guys sit in the shop. I think a lot of guys maybe are intimidated by the shop, or they have shit to do. They don't want to sit down, but you got to smoke in a group.
Yeah.
I smoke alone a lot because I think there are very few people who can teach me anything about cigars at this point in my life.
Hmm.
However, there's always somebody who, when I do sit in the group, there's always somebody who says, I tried this. Have you tried it? No, but I'm going to.
Right.
So, but get in there and start, and use the internet. The internet's a wonderful tool. And this pains me to say, whether you want to go to Half Wheel or Cigar Coop or Dojo, or any of these guys who work really hard to
Hmm.
put reviews out for the public, for people to gauge what these different cigars are. Use them. If you're starting to smoke now in 2022, you are so far ahead of the guys who were smoking in the
Oh
early
my
80s.
God.
Even the guys who came along with the old bulletin boards, and you are so far ahead of it.
Yeah.
I used to smoke Nat Shermans like crazy. I
Yeah.
love Nat Sherman. I used to smoke the Nat Sherman Telegraph, and then just one day I didn't like Dominicans anymore. I just Not Dominican people, but Dominican cigars.
Yeah.
I moved away from Dominican cigars. Then
My
Nicaraguans,
my my first exposure was with Cubans playing golf, Cuban cigars, and I had a friend who had a hookup. and he used to get me boxes of Romeo Julietas, and that's what I smoked initially. Then I found a company like Nat Sherman. I started smoking a lot of them, and then I finally, when I stopped, I took a little bit of a break, came back and found Espinosa, thanks to the Cigar Dojo and Bob McDonald, and life has been great ever since. It really has.
But think about it. You're part of a group that's got what, 7 members, or
11
members? 11. You have 10 guys that you can bounce cigars off.
Oh yeah.
If Jeff Todd, between watching the Bills lose another divisional game, calls you and says, "You got to try this. I just had it." And not just that, you guys bomb each other with cigars and stuff. You have, not everybody's going to find 10 guys that want to hang out and smoke, but you might find a couple of guys
right.
who, maybe Thursday night is cigar night. We're going to go out, we're going to go to the shop, and we're going to ask the shop owner, what's new? Because that is the number one question in the cigar store is, how you doing?
Yeah.
The second one is, what's new?
Right.
So, and listen, I'm going to go to the shop now. I'm done with you. I'm gonna get in my car, get my little retirement toy that I bought myself that I've been wanting to buy for a couple of years, and I'm gonna drive to the shop and I'm gonna walk in. Boys, what's up? Hey, Alan, what's new? What came in new?
Exactly.
This came in new, and I'm gonna sit down and try it.
Fantastic. Listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day for me.
Listen, anything I can do to talk about our brand it's part of my job, and I listen. I'm one of 2 or 3 guys that, not to mention everybody else, but I'm one of 2 or 3 guys that I really like the sound of my voice. So, so I'm, so I'm one short of 100 podcasts. I'm just one more short.
We'll do another one tomorrow.
So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that one last one to do my 100th one. But
there you go.
No, this is anything that talks about our brand, that promotes our brand, and educates people on what we're trying to do, and continues to put us in a positive light. I'm all about that.
Everyone go to EspinosaCigars.com, and that'll conclude this interview. And I leave you the same way all the time. Do me a favor, please stay blessed, and always remember, inside every wrapper, a story waits to be told. Good evening. If you enjoyed this episode, please think about subscribing. And also, look at the other videos on the channel, as well as the one I'm going to be recommending at the end of this.